Here we go. Welcome to the Profit Tool Belt podcast, just for builders, remodelers, and GCs. If you serve commercial or residential customers and you're interested in the business of the contracting business, then welcome. You're probably at a place where you're proud that you're already at 1 or 2 million a year in sales. You're also wise enough to know you need some new answers to old problems. And if that's the case, then you're ready because this show is all about getting to the next level by working smarter, not just harder. And so the guest that I found for you today is Joe Crisara. We're going to talk about building a real sales team and process, which I have come to find most of us don't have. Now, you can get Joe and me on LinkedIn. His last name is spelled Crisara, Crisara, and of course, my name, Dominic Rubino. Anyways, we're going to be talking about sales from the level of a business owner and how we want to put together a team and have a process. But here's why this episode's important. Most of us started in trades because we love trades. I love the smell of sawdust. And I don't know if you're the same as me, but every once in a while you cut two pieces of wood and they go together like they were meant to be together. And that's a satisfying feeling. The same as when I remember for myself, even when I was a young guy doing framing, you start and all you come to is a laid out floor. And at the end of the day, you turn around, your back kind of hurts, and you see, I'm like, we just finished the first floor of that house or of that condo. There's a satisfaction in that. I don't know how else to explain it. For those of you who do renos, it's probably a satisfaction in smashing up what looks like a perfectly good bathroom to build an even nicer one. Anyway, you get my point, right? But you become a business owner because you're focused on growth. You realize now it's time to be proactive about bringing in the right kind of clients with the right kind of jobs and build the kind of business we really want. And that's why I've got Joe here as a guest. You can't build this business randomly. Can't rely on chance and hope anymore, especially if you want to grow. Remember, you want to get to the next level, which is why you listen to this podcast, right? I understand that getting to the next level is your goal, but you might not be able to see over the hill. Me and my team have gone over that hill a couple of times now, and we want to show you the path, right? Let me add this about the whole sales conversation. Some of you out there have a deep stomach, tummy resistance to sales. Because why? Because you think salespeople are slimy, underhanded cheaters. Couldn't agree more. That's why we lead with honesty, curiosity, and caring. And we can beat those people every single time. You are the best contractor for the job. And if you're not going to do this job, if you don't do your best to win that job, the slimy, underhanded guy is going to get it. So we owe it to that homeowner or commercial account that we are the contractor of choice. As you guys know from listening to the show, there are simple systems to help you run this business, make the money that you deserve to do with whatever you want so you can live the life you want. More fishing, more hunting, more golfing, more time with family, just going out and being home in time to play baseball with your son, hang out with your daughter, read, do whatever you want. It's your business. And you started this business to give yourself freedom, independence in life. I want to get you back to that. The simple systems that we talk about give you quiet confidence to take this company wherever you want to get to. That's why I urge you, put your shoulders back, lift up your chin just a quarter of an inch, take a deep breath in, and then back out. That power you feel right now is what I want to give you all the time. Simple systems, quiet confidence. If I had to summarize everything for you, the podcast is all about mindset, guys. And speaking of mindset, I've got a couple of dad jokes for you. Now, Dom, why bad jokes? Why dad jokes? Why bad jokes? And why dad jokes poorly delivered with horrible timing? That's how I roll. I want to get you laughing and I want you to get your mind open to what Joe has to say here today. I came from a background in sales. You guys know that. I went through sales and operations. Then I worked for a big telephone company, helping our installers run their businesses better. And that's how I became a business coach back in the year 2000, turn of the century. Before that, I had a job selling Velcro. I just couldn't stick with it. I can't even do that with a straight face. We're into the joke spot right now, by the way. So a sales guy comes up to a customer and he goes, "Hey, you want to buy a pocket calculator?" And the guy says, "Buddy, no thanks. I already know how many pockets I have." Uh, sometimes I dabble in invention, putting new things together. I like to be creative, business creative. And so I do have a great new product I'm going to be selling soon. It's still in development. It's a solar powered flashlight. Hey, this one goes out for all of you. If this episode goes live anytime in May, May the 4th is a special day for you. Do you know how Yoda got his first sales lead? The Salesforce he used. Listen, you're groaning right now, and I know for sure you guys are going to use that. Who can't use another Yoda joke, right? Um, Here's one that you could slip into conversation without anybody even knowing. You could just be clever, right? This is one of those ones you slip in there, and people walk away from you two steps, and they're like, "Was that a joke?" Here you go. I'm going to deliver it now. I'm going to deliver it straight. Okay, so you can pick it up. You're going to reuse this one. Hey, what does a hat salesman drink to get him going in the morning? Cappuccino. With a bunch of jokes like this, you do have to watch for changes in your family situation. There was a guy who used a lot of dad jokes, and unfortunately, it led to divorce. His wife leaves him for a tractor salesman, and he ends up getting a John Deere letter. Oh. All of Nebraska, Iowa, big parts of California are groaning right now. Everybody in the ag regions, right? Here's one that's more marketing than sales, but it's super clever, and I want you to have it because I want you to think about it. It still goes to what we need to do as business. So a sales rep for the your local SEO company calls on this contractor, and the contractor says, "Look, I've been in business 41 years and I've never spent a penny on advertising or SEO or websites. We don't need that kind of marketing. We're all word of mouth." The sales rep says, "Really? Can you tell me then, what's that building at the end of town there, that really big one with the spire on it?" And the contractor says, "Well, that's St. Catherine's Church." And the Saint and the rep says, "Huh, has it been there long?" And the contractor says, "Are you kidding me? That's one of the oldest buildings in our town. It's been there over 100 years." And the sales rep says, "They still ring the bell, don't they?" Bah, bah. That's a marketing joke for you. You still have to ring the bell at the church. Hey, listen, you guys know I like to joke around, but I'm also dead serious. I host this podcast because one day I would be very proud to stand beside you and be your business coach. I have a team of business coaches, as a matter of fact, who help me do the same thing. I'm proud of all of them. We're very well trained and we're focused on one thing: your success. That being said, I'm going to go into business coach mode right now. I have two simple action items for you today. Number one, a challenge. Joe is going to say something. You're going to hear something. You're going to remember something. You're going to remember something you used to do, but you stopped doing. Take action. Do that thing and then pay attention to how that improves your life or your business in the next day. Look at your watch or look at your phone 24 hours from now. That's your goal. That's your challenge. I want you to take action. And then number two, think on this idea. Are you happy being a contractor who wants to get to the next level, who feels a little bit stuck? Or are you ready to be a business person who just happens to run a contracting company? By the end of today's episode, you're going to know the answer. So let's get to it. Mr. Joe Crisara. How the heck are you?
I'm doing great, Dominic. Thanks for inviting me here. I really appreciate you having me on the show.
Yeah, well, we went and found you. Did you know that?
I had no idea you sought me out. Thanks so much for doing
I,
that, and
it,
it's an honor.
yeah, see, in business, it's called sought you out. If this was a personal life, it would be stalking. And we're not actually
Well,
supposed to do that.
definitely. Well, it's an honor to be stalked. With my delicate low self-esteem, I'm definitely happy that somebody wants me and likes me. So,
Yeah,
thank you.
there you go. Yeah. Well, can I tell you the reason that we went to find you?
What's that?
We don't talk about sales enough in the trades.
Hmm.
And yet it's the mouth of the beast. If we're thinking of our business as a boa constrictor,
Mhm.
the mouth has to be able to consume, like we need those leads. And when we get those leads, we have to be able to process those into deals, right?
Mhm.
And so now take that boa constrictor and say it's eating a bunny. Well, we got to get the bunny in there. And that's your job. And so I believe in sales. I come at business actually from a sales background, sales and operations background, and you come at it from a sales background. So that's why we went and found you, because you're an expert specifically in the HVAC space, right?
Well, actually, in all the trades, because I do, plumbing, HVAC, electrical, landscaping. You did pretty much any service. I even helped a coffee shop one time. coffee shop was just about to go out of business, and I turned it around in one weekend. They did more money in a weekend than they did in the whole quarter before that
I love
weekend.
it.
Isn't it crazy? So definitely just changing the way you connect with people, changing the way you price your services, and changing the menu when you offer the services. The science of pricing, science of connecting, and the science of bringing it to a conclusion and managing the project.
I love it.
It's not just sales; it's really a new operating system that people need to take place. That's really what I look at it like.
And that's why we went to find you, because today you and I are going to be talking about how to build a sales team. And, people don't get into the trades because they're like, I'm really good at selling. I think I'm going to
Mhm.
open a construction company. They don't, it doesn't happen very often. And so this is where like to call on you for that. So let me back up. We know the topic.
Sure,
How do I build a real sales team in my
got it.
contracting business? Joe Crisara, I have a question for you. Are you
Sure,
are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
Who the heck are you? And how is it you come to be speaking to all these forward facing contractors all over the world?
Well, I've got 47 years in the service contracting industry since 1977, and
Mm,
I've done it wrong for about 23 years, and I've done it right for about 24 years. So I know my superpower is smelling when things are wrong, and
mm,
because I've done it wrong. So and the pain, Dominic, that I have inside when I see people doing it wrong, because I'm like,
yeah.
man, it's just like me. The way I look at it, Dominic, is that if I can smell something somebody's doing wrong and replace that with something that they could do right, that's my passion. And every day I wake up knowing that people need that. And
Hmm.
the reason I do it is because it's that negativity that I suffered from the 23 years of doing it wrong, going into debt. I was almost 500,000 in debt, and everybody said I should go bankrupt back in 1991. And I'm
Mm,
like, nope, I'm just too stupid to quit. So I just kept going. And then one of my clients had mercy on me and showed me the science of pricing. I had another mentor
mm,
who showed me how to connect with people and how to present the prices and bring it to a conclusion. So basically, I've been very fortunate to have, I actually had Dr. Stephen Covey from the Seven Habits of Highly
wow.
Effective People. I talked to him. I
Yeah.
talked to Jack Canfield, is one of my personal mentors from the Success Principles, the Chicken Soup from the Soul
Yeah.
author. So I had a real preponderance to just ask people for help when I knew I needed it, and I did
And that's
receive the
hard to
help.
do.
That's the weird part is that. But here's the thing, Dominic. If I wasn't suffering as bad as I was, I would never have had the courage to ask for help because I would have felt like I'm doing good enough. So that negativity I had in the first part of my career is the engine behind why I wake up today every morning and try to help people because I don't want anybody to have to go through that. That's really what I
Yeah.
look at it like. Makes sense?
I've got two questions for you already.
Sure,
For
go ahead.
the first one's maybe a little bit more personal, and then the second one's
Hmm.
technical. So the personal one is, can you tell me how bad it was to make you change? Because you said you did 20 plus years the wrong way, and then you've got 20 plus years the right way. What was that conversation maybe you had at the kitchen table or driving on your own that said, I got to do something different?
Well, it was actually funny because it's like I was go at the time I was going through, I was married for about 13 years, and I was going through a divorce. My first wife was bipolar, so I had to learn about the mental health industry. I didn't even know it existed. I was going through
Mm,
all that, and then at the same time, my business was going under because I was doing red carpet service. I call it. I was one of the best in my trade of heating, air conditioning was my main trade, like you said. Then I took on plumbing and electrical too, and I was doing all that, and I was the best you could be at that trade. The 100%. I felt like the worst person in our company would be the better than the owner of another company.
wow.
However, I was doing red carpet service for brown bag prices because I just didn't know my
Ah,
costs of doing business. I didn't know that people would actually buy more if I offered them more.
mhm,
I thought the only way that could motivate people is to do it cheap for cheaper,
mm,
lower the price. I thought that was my only way to motivate people to buy or to do that. And I was wrong. And so because of
ah,
that, I lost every employee. I couldn't make payroll. I was 250, about 500,000 in total debt overall, 471,000. All my employees quit. Only had one employee who was too stupid to quit. His name was Glenn. And I'm like, Glenn,
Well, I'm
I'm not
glad you
going to
mentioned him
pay
by
you.
name. That's great. That's awesome.
I said, he knows. I said, Glenn, you're not going to get paid. And he goes, that's okay. I think you're going to come back from this, Joe. I know I believe in you.
Wow.
I'm like, wow, that's nice. So I was teaching him how to do maintenance calls and stuff like that. And I was at a customer's house, and
Yeah.
my customer said, here's where it came up to. I'll tell you, this is a funny story. His name was Dave, and Dave said, "Hey Joe, I've been doing business with you for 5 years, and I noticed something. How's business going on?" And I said,
Mm.
and even though I was going through all that hell, divorce, debt, no employees, I had 17 trucks with no employees, right?
Oh
He
my
goes,
goodness.
how's business going, Joe? And I lied to him like every contractor does.
Right.
And I said, it's going great, Dave. We're doing great. And he goes, really? Joe, how's it really going? And I said, why do you say that? He goes, well, you got 17 trucks parked at your office. And I go to the coffee shop right across the street and watch your office every morning. And he goes, the trucks used to scramble and drive out of there. Everybody was driving around. He goes, now all the trucks just sit there and nobody does anything with the trucks.
Oh
He
boy.
goes, what's going on? I said, yeah, Dave, here's the problem. It's the economy. You got Bill Clinton in office.
Oh,
You can't win
blame.
with that. And he goes, oh, it's Bill Clinton, huh? I said, yeah. And then you got my wife. She's bipolar and she's divorcing me. I can't do anything with that. And then you got these unloyal employees. They just quit because they don't get paid for a week. I mean,
Mm.
go figure that. And he goes, Joe, I heard you blame the Clinton, you blamed your ex-wife, and you got the employees. He goes, you do know you're leaving somebody out of the equation, right? And I
Mm.
said, yeah, like my wife's mom, right? That's probably who you're talking about. He goes, no, not your wife's mom, Joe. It's you. You're not taking responsibility for
Wow.
the things that are happening. He goes, Joe, I can tell you what's wrong. You're always, he goes, every time you come here, you're always trying to save me money on something. He goes, have you ever thought about just offering people the best service you can offer them, no matter how much
Mm.
it costs? And I said, Dave, I don't even know what you're talking about. Could even, my ears couldn't even hear that. Like
Right.
I wasn't even,
Well,
I
because you
couldn't
were
even
you were focused
process
on
it.
being a great technician. You said you're doing
That's
red
it.
carpet surface, the best job you could do.
That's it. And he goes, Joe, let me show you the science of pricing. And he showed me how to do tiered pricing, which is called premium, mid-range, and economy choices. And
Mm.
that's the core of my philosophy today, which is but because it saved my company. Well, I'll tell you what, in January of 1991, I was $471,000 in debt.
Yeah.
But by December of 1994, after following Dave's advice on how to do premium mid-range economy choices and making the choices personalized and customized
Yeah.
and managing the thing to bring it to a conclusion, he told me those three things during that 1 hour. And he mentored me for a couple of years on this. Well, by December of 1994, I was debt free, 100% debt free.
How many
And
years was that? Sorry, do the math with me.
the three and a half, it's about 3.5 years.
To pay
And
off almost
it,
500 in debt?
yeah, and I was in a house. My house cost 58,000. Mention that. My house, I had a 30-year mortgage on a house for 58,000
Oh
at the
my
time,
goodness.
and so it's like getting out of debt, five houses out of debt or whatever type of thing, right?
Yeah,
So it
that's a good
was,
way to say it, actually. Yeah.
it's crazy. So, and the way I did it was by offering solutions that I never offered before. I just never offered so every time I did like if you're a carpenter and you do a deck or something like that, or you do a
Right.
remodeling project on a house, you could charge more for a premium option on a warranty and a service. Like, hey, we could do a 12-year service plan and 12-year warranty on this kitchen. How do you
Right.
do that? Well, you charge for it. You can't just say, we're going to come out whenever you need us for 12 years. So we're going to put in faucets, fixtures, sinks, everything. If something goes wrong in this kitchen, it's warranted for 12 years and you can't write a check for anything. And I learned that people would spend more for that if
They
you did
will.
offer it to them,
And
Uh,
it's quite often
it,
called the good, better, best strategy.
well,
There's many
It's the
ways of.
opposite. It's the opposite, right? Good, better, best is starting at the bottom and working your way up. So it's interesting. You want to ask a question about that? Can I get clarity? Can I
I,
give you clarity on that,
I need to
Dominic?
ask a question on that, Joe. Can you please answer that question for me?
Go and ask the question, Joe. What's the difference between good, better, best, and premium mid-range economy? Ask
Well, I'm
me the
glad you
difference.
asked that, Joe. What's the difference between good, better, best, and premium, whatever, and economy?
Well, if you only offer one thing, the closing rate will be the lowest, and your average sale will be the lowest
Mm-hmm.
because you're only offering the cheapest thing. You're trying to be competitive on the price.
Mm.
You're worried about the competition when you should be worried about what the client gets. Your half of you is worried about what the competition is charging, and the other half is what does the client get, right? Now you're
You're
split
selling against
50-50.
yourself. You're selling
Yeah,
against yourself.
you're playing a game that you had nobody even you didn't know you were in a competition. You're your own worst enemy when you only give one price. If you do good, better, and best pricing, that does increase the amount of people who purchase better and best. 40% of the people will go from, so 60% will still go to the economy if you offer the economy first, because the thing you offer first is called in the science your anchor. So whatever you say first will be the thing that they think you're recommending.
Mhm.
So 60% will go with the recommended the economy option,
Sure.
the good, and then the better and best, 40% will upgrade. So it is successful. Sears Roebuck used that in their tiered pricing in the Sears catalog. And older people like you and I remember that. That used to be the internet back in the day.
When you
Uh,
got the Sears catalog for Christmas time.
Sears catalog was all we had. It was no internet.
That's right.
That was our world. So good, better, best for tools, good, better, best for mini bikes, you name it. They had everything like that. It was successful. It's 40% of the time. And I think if you do published pricing,
Mm.
good, better, best is a good way of doing it because you can get people get their foot in the door with something inexpensive and then they could upgrade from there. Amazon does that. They give you the best price and then you could upgrade to better things underneath it, like that kind of thing. So it
Yeah.
is better when you publish the prices good, better, best. Now, if you're giving a personalized presentation, the opposite of good, better, best is premium, mid-range, and economy.
And that's
You flip
because when you present me
you,
the
you,
premium first, if I understand
you
you correctly, I'm more likely to choose premium, or that's the anchor.
that's the anchor because now that's the
Right.
thing that they think you want to do. Like the customer's like, oh, this must be the thing they want to do by
Mm.
telling me first, right? That's the psychology behind it. And so therefore, 80% of the people now upgrade to premium and mid-range as
Wow.
opposed to
Okay.
40%. So double the amount of people. So if you're offering the cheapest thing first and then upgrading, that's called upselling. If you offer the premium option first and let people see the economy and mid-range and economy price afterward, then 80% of the people will say, you know what, Joe, that premium, or can we just do the mid-range for now and upgrade to the premium? Even when you do the mid-range, they still want to upgrade to the premium later. You get two
Right.
sales out of it. You get the sale now, and they say, let's upgrade and do the rest of this next year or
So
whatever,
that one
and they're
simple
stuck with that.
change, that's you, even if somebody out there is already doing that tiered pricing model, I'm just going to call it that for a second, like a
Yeah, yeah.
general category. What you're suggesting is the one simple change, and then putting your premium at the top will increase your conversion rates, increase your sales, hopefully your profits as well, as long as you're pricing properly.
Yeah, I hope
So
that
that could be,
demystifies it. It
yeah,
demystifies it because it's like good, better, best, premium. Nobody thought about it, right? Like you go to a car wash, it's like it's premium mid-range economy. You see the super wash, the
right. You're right.
detail, and then you bring it down to the $19 at the bottom. So that's something where you're getting an actual service from somebody, right? When you're buying
Mm,
a product, however, like on Amazon, cookies or something like that, so a book or something, you're buying a bundle. First, you get the book, and then you
mm,
buy the bundle later. You upgrade. It makes sense. So
right.
products, which are inert things that they're items that people buy, a SKU number or whatever, that's
Mm-hmm.
better on good, better, and best. So if you're gonna sell something a product online, better off to get my foot in the door and get me the small purchase and then add on to that later, right? Whereas a service where you're doing like the kind of work that you do and I do for clients
Mm-hmm.
for carpentry, roofing, heating, cooling, you name it. That's a service, like car wash is a service. Then the premium option showing us the premium way first, because this is my company. Here's our premium way. We're a premium company. Doesn't it make sense that we would offer the premium way first
Right. I
since we
like
are a
that.
premium company?
That's good
And by the
positioning.
way, the premium way differentiates that from the market. Now you're offering services that nobody's offering. I just had a guy, here's an issue. I had a plumbing company come to me last week. We did a class here.
Mm-hmm.
They had a $33,000 heating and air conditioning premium option. And the client said, the problem is we're going to be doing a deck this spring, and I'm not sure how much that's going to cost. And so then he said, let me have my service tech look at that. He took a picture of the deck, and then the guy said, how about this? For 37,500, we'll take care of repairing that deck too. What would happen then? So he
He,
had it
he
on the deck
upsold it.
to it.
Yeah.
He
He
upsold
upsold
from the 30. So it's interesting, right?
all the
So it was
outdoor living deck, dock, and pergola guys listening right now are shaking their heads. But the point
it's
here
funny,
is that you're solving a problem for a customer.
right? That's it. That's
Yeah.
it.
So I'm going to go in a different direction that you might anticipate. No, you'll understand where I'm going with this.
Good.
You and I are talking about sales and selling, and you and I also exist with the total conviction that we're helping people. And I'm
That's
okay
it.
selling because I know that I'm the best provider for people. How often do you encounter shame around selling?
Well, almost everybody,
Yeah.
because I mean, the name of our company used to be contractorselling.com. We thought, hey, we're just going to contractor and selling. That's what we
Right.
do, train, teach you how to sell. But funny thing is that nobody wanted to buy from us because they thought it was scammy. It's like, I don't want to learn. I don't have my guys to be a
I don't want to
salesman.
be a sales guy.
That's it.
I'm
So nobody, it was not very, so the second we changed our name from
mm,
contractor selling to service MVP,
mm,
immediately we tripled our sales that first year, and
mm,
people sold themselves. So I agree that I would say there shouldn't be shame about it because the word selling has been attached to manipulation, to intimidation, coercion in a way,
deceit. Yeah, all of those
deceit,
things. We should put
trying to.
all those words should be on the table. And the reason that I'm asking you this question is because
Mhm.
somebody out there listening right now is a great technician. You've mentioned a deck already and you've mentioned
Yeah.
HVAC. So somebody out there is running an HVAC company. Somebody out there does decks and docks and pergolas.
Hmm.
And one of those people is going, but I want to sell, but I feel icky being a salesperson. Why don't they
Yeah.
just
So
they know I'm the best. Why don't they just call me and tell me what they want and I'll build it? I don't want to have to sell. And that to me comes from that in somehow being ashamed of selling. And I want to find out from you, another expert, how do we overcome that? How do we help them?
the best way I'm glad you asked that question. That's a really good question, by the way, because I was hoping you would ask it, and you laid it right up for you put the ball in the rim. I just got to tip it in
I
right
just
now.
got
So
yeah, there
thank
you
you,
go.
thank you so much. But that's a good question, and here's what I do. I tell people that actually that person's right. You shouldn't need to sell something that people need. So if people need something, it should not need to be sold, but
Mm.
it does need to be provided. Let's put it this way. Would you say a guy who deals cards as a card dealer in Las Vegas or at a casino in your local area, at a reservation or whatever, if those
Right.
people, if they deal cards, you wouldn't think that the card dealer is a salesman, would you?
No.
No, he's inert. He's not
Yeah.
supposed to win the game. He's not supposed to lose the game. He's just supposed to deal the cards at the game and let the
Neutral.
game play. The game plays itself, right?
Right.
And so that's the way people need to think about this. Persuasion is not something that you can consciously actually activate and do, because if you try to persuade people, now you're pushing people in a way, right?
Mm.
Makes sense? That so in a way, it's like I'm a card dealer at Las Vegas. Here is my premium cards. Here's my mid-range cards. Here's my economy cards. The premium cards you win more often and they're more permanent wins. The mid-range are professional, and the economy cards are very difficult to win, but you can pick anyone you want. I'm fine with either one. So what should we do? That's the tag phrase or the trademark that we have developed called "What should we do?" So you give them the
Ah.
premium, you give them the mid-range, you give them the economy. You tell them why the premium is more permanent. It's got better service.
Mm.
It's more heavy duty. It's like that. The bottom option is just an economy fix, temporary fix, if you will. And then the mid range is the professional way, just doesn't have the extra luxuries or extra service and things like that
That,
on it.
that's
And
excellent positioning, by the way. I hope everybody got that little difference, the nuances, the tiny. So the economy way is going to get the job done. It's everything you need.
yeah,
The the
it's what you're asking me for. So usually the consumer asks for something that's very minimal. Can you change that screen door for me? It's like, yeah, but look at the thresholds falling apart too, and look at the deck right in front. It's got a hole in it. It's
yeah,
got the railing's falling off your deck
it's falling
right
apart
here.
because the roof
Yeah,
over it is rotten. Yeah,
exactly. So all this stuff is happening. It's right in front of you. So you could just say the premium option would be everything I'm seeing here. To go together, I just give you a price and all that. That's the difference, though, Dominic. The average guy would see that stuff and he would point it all out. Like, look at that roof, look at that deck, look in the railings. But a professional doesn't do that. Professional does two words: shut up. Don't talk about that stuff. Instead, write up the prices for doing, explain what you're going to do, write the prices for it, premium, mid-range economy prices, and then tell the customer, listen, you called me to do the screen door, but I've seen some other things. Have you seen these other things? Yeah. My question is, how come we're not addressing that? And they're like, oh, what would it cost to address that? Well, I'm glad you
Mm,
asked because I actually wrote it down. Would you like to see it? Yeah. Now you're in being invited to show people the options. Make sense?
hmm.
So the biggest mistake people make, I think, in sales is that even if you make those prices, usually the people don't write it down. It's called lip service. They just talk about those prices and they don't write it. They don't bother to document or write it down. So today with like the iPad or the Apple or your phone even, you can use Apple Notes and you can talk it in there. You can say, here's what we're going to do and here's the price.
Right.
You can even make the options on a phone or on an iPad. You don't got to even, it doesn't take a lot of high
What
technology.
I
And there's no man likes using a pen and paper. We don't like that's for women. That's old school, right? That's,
I
I
don't
know
know.
I'm old.
Actually, I
I'm
disagree
old, but
because
I
I
don't I
love
think
writing things down.
you do. Maybe
I
I use.
do.
I
I
like
do. I
talking it
do.
in right now myself. That's my favorite
Yeah.
thing to do. But
But
but but most men don't like documenting things. That's the problem, right?
it's a lot of extra
So
work. It's a lot of
it
extra
is.
work,
It's
right?
like that's
And I,
Joe. That's a lot of work to make up that option sheet. But truthfully, whenever I've taught carpenters or landscapers or roofers or heating and air conditioning and plumbing, I said, hey, just even that coffee shop, I said, let's document. She had no menu. I'm like, where's the menu? I never. Everybody knows what we got. It's like, no, they don't. They
no,
don't
they
know how much a
don't.
latte costs. And
Yeah.
so she couldn't sell anything. I'm like, well, put the cards on the table so people could buy it, because you're making it hard to do business with, right? So make it easy to do business by writing it down,
Yeah.
showing people the prices, tell them the premium one is more permanent, heavy duty, it's got more service, it's just overbuilt. This is the best way.
I have a
Here's the
butt
mid-range
Joe.
way, and that's it. Go ahead.
I have a butt Joe. Can I
What's
ask you my
that?
butt Joe?
What is it?
But Joe, how can you tell me there's a process for selling when every house I walk up to, every job I approach has a different need? Everybody's different. There can't be a system for selling? It's not going to work. That's my
Well,
butt Joe.
that is the system. That is the system is that there's more than 5% of what the customer brings you is what the opportunity you're given. 95% is what the customer doesn't know that is additionally wrong that you would put in your premium option. Make sense? So the but is the reason is the actual ironically the thing that would make the premium option better, right? That uh hey, you want me to put a faucet in, but your kitchen sink, the basket strainer is leaking underneath inside the cabinet. And by the
Mm,
way, your cabinets are rotting out too. Or you want me to fix the toilet that's running on too long, but the floor is falling apart because there's water. The toilet's leaking. There's a fracture in the side of the toilet
yeah.
that's making your floor smell. You need a floor and you need the toilet, and your drains are clogged too, by the way. So these are the things that people didn't. I guess what I would say, Dominic, consumers are really good at um, normalizing dysfunctional things in their home. Like
Wow,
we
that's a
we
neat way to
we,
say it.
we
You
all
get
are.
used to it. I do too, right? Like that door closes, and this is the way you got to use that lock. It's a little funky, but you start to get used to it, and you start living in the. I see what you mean. Yeah,
Yeah,
you just get
because
used to it.
consumers are really good at normalizing dysfunctional things that don't make any sense to the outsider. But
Mm.
when so as a service provider, you provide that called that fourth dimensional view. There's you, there's the customer, and there's their home. And then there's the fourth dimension, which is you looking at the whole darn thing and saying, you know what? I have a better way of approaching this job than just fixing the. Now, the interesting thing is that it doesn't take any sales ability. It just takes writing down the premium, mid-range economy options. Here's the best way to handle this project. Here's the mid-range way, and here's
Yeah.
the economy way. And tell customers, I'm comfortable with any like a car dealer. I'm comfortable with any card you pick, premium, mid-range economy. And
So
they
this
say,
goes.
if the customer says, well, you make more money off the premium way, right? And I would say, no, we actually make more money in the economy way. You know how that is, Dominic?
How is it?
Because you're going to buy the economy way two or three times and then eventually upgrade to the premium way. But by that time, the premium way prices has increased like three times. So now you're buying an increased price
Mm.
and you're buying the cheap way three or four times the other way. Just
So
think about that. Think about when you buy a drone. You buy a drone at a $27 drone, it crashes and that's 27 bucks. $59 drone, that crashes too. $100 drone lasts a few more weeks and it crashes too. Finally, you buy a $350 drone and that thing works. Makes
and
sense?
it, and you
So,
and you use it
so
forever.
you spent about $700 in drones, 350 on the ones that work and 350 the ones that don't work. That's That's what happened
I'm
there.
sure people are frantically scrambling to write that down. And actually, that takes us back to the main theme of today, which is, the people that are listening to this show, Joe, are unique in that we call them forward facing business owners. They want to
Hmm.
get to the next level, but they can't see over the hill. They just can't. So they talk to guys like you and I and say, show me what's on the other side of the hill. How do I have to get ready for it? So if they want to build a real sales team, how do we take
Yep.
what you and I are talking about now and make it normal language for Andy? I'm going to use A, B's, and C's as the name of the people on my sales team because
Got
I'm
it.
clever like that. Andy, Brad, and Charlie. You see what I
Got
did
it.
there? A, B, and C. How do I?
Good.
So I've got Andy. Andy's a rock star. How do I now train Brad and Charlie to do the same thing? What you've done this lots of times. I've been through it lots of times. How do I build a real sales team using a proven process?
Well, the word that's most important in what you just asked me was the word team, right?
Mm,
So Andy, Brad, and Charlie are not are they're not each one any one of them are not more important than the team. And no matter what Andy's doing, no matter what
mm,
Brad's doing or Charlie's doing, it's not relevant anymore to what's going to happen now, which is that the team is going to embrace something that we're all going to do together.
mm,
So doing things individual, that's the dark force that makes business fail. When we're isolated and everybody's doing their own thing, quote unquote, that is a business that cannot succeed long term
exactly.
because we're not on a unified game plan.
Yeah,
The
you're
culture is
running
not
on random.
yeah, the culture is not working together as a team. They're randomly doing so. If you say sales team, that's a good way of putting it, by the way. So genius on that, Dominic. You,
Thank you. I get
you
one
nailed
point
that one
today.
because
I get one.
you said, yeah, because we said no, you have tons of them. But if you said, yeah, how do you beat salespeople? I say, well, you need to build a team before you start because you got to
Ah,
say, even if I have one guy, that guy is the first person on my team, right? And you can't just have one person who sells for your company. Other people have to if you have a company, that means you have employees and you have to have more people who can sell your
right.
service. Otherwise, you're doing it all. That's pretty much it. So I think the first one is number one. Uh, you have to surrender and come up to a unified system,
Hmm,
which is that what we as Service MVP do. We create a system of operation from the time you introduce yourself. You get the level of commitment. You
hmm,
connect with the customer. You find the words that your customers commonly use, and then you explain. You diagnose the entire, not just the one problem they asked you for, but the entire system. That's part of a system.
right.
You find all the major problems that people can't see and the ones they do see. You document the problems, you document the solutions, and then you present the problems in a personalized, customized fashion, and present the solutions in a personalized, customized fashion. And you make sure both homeowners have equal access to the information, and then you
I
bring,
love
and
how you
then you
just
bring
said
it,
that.
and then you bring it to a conclusion. So
I love how
basically,
you just said that.
that's a system. So a system is something you have to agree that the team is going to embrace that the leader number one says this is my company,
Hmm,
this is what we're doing. Brad, we're going to change a little bit of what you do. It's going to improve it. You're doing good already. You're a rock star. You're going to be a double rock. You're going to be an MVP, not just a rock star. You're going to be an
yeah.
MVP and a Hall of Famer if you do it this way. And Brad, you're going to be going from good to unbelievable. You're going to be back where what Andy was doing. And then, Charlie, you're going to be probably we're not sure where you're going to go, but it's going to be amazing for you too. So it's consistently, everybody's got something to work on. Now, the cool part is when you got a team, we can all help each other because we know what the other one's supposed to do. If we
And
don't know what everybody's doing, we can't help anybody. Make sense?
yeah. And then the technicians in the field have to be able to follow through with the promises made by the sales team. So what I appreciate in what you said there, what you laid out, I don't think that most people here would recognize and understand, but that is the process that is called the consultative selling process. At least that's the language I use. How do you refer? Call it consultative as well?
I call it pure motive service. Pure motive service includes the motivation behind it. So when you do bring it to your team,
Mm,
you have to say, what am I doing this for? I'm doing it because I want my team to get the best return on investment for their family, for the housing,
mhm.
transportation, education, and all the recreational activities they do. I want to make sure my team has the best resources for their family,
Sure.
and that's my primary motivation is to take care of my people because the people are the thing that are the engine behind this team, right? So they got to be taken care of. Right? So ironically, the guy who would be upset with me about this, I'd say, Brad, we're doing this for you. You realize this, right? You're the one we're doing it for.
Well,
And
yeah.
number
Tell me,
two,
there's resistance to sales training. Go back and let's say what would you say to Brad if he's
yeah, I would
resistant
just say,
to
Brad,
training or
Brad,
changing his methods?
ironically, Brad, I said, Brad, how important is financial resources for your family? Is it important that your family, for the time your family is giving us, when you're working for our company at ABC, you are making the family, our clients' families, more important than your own family. Like you won't even take a phone call from your wife when you're in the middle of a job, right? So you're leasing your attention to this family. Doesn't your family deserve the best return on investment they could get? And he said, yes, they do. I said, that's what we're doing this for. That's why we're implementing this system. And that's why I want you to work with Andy and Charlie together, because if you work together, we'll achieve more for your families. Number two, when a team works together, uh, we don't have to apologize for somebody who's running rogue. Everybody can stand behind the team and we can honor each teammate. And number three, we want the client to get more than they think they're paying for. So the customer buys a deck for 15,000 with lighting and stuff like that on it. We want the client to feel like they should have paid 30,000. Or
Oh,
if you buy an HVAC system that costs 47,000 with everybody gets a personal heating and air conditioning system every room of the house, that they feel like at the end of the process, like, man, after Dominic did this for me, I don't know,
we
but
came out
they
ahead.
should they could have charged 70,000 for this. I would have paid that easily. Like, have you ever done it before where you bought something
Yeah.
really good and you're like, man, actually, I thought it was a lot of money when
I
I
thut it
first
was,
did it.
and then now it's
And then
so
later
worth
on,
it.
you're like, man, that was just like so good. Where do you live, Dominic? Where do you stay?
Myself,
Yeah, where are you living?
I'm in Vancouver, Canada.
Oh, nice, nice. Well, that's a great place up there. That's a great place where there's all kinds of great things you could purchase. It's a great example of a place where there's always something new to be able to get, and that area of the country, especially in BC,
Yeah.
typifies what we're talking about because there are the premium mid-range economy choices all over for everything, right? So
Everything. I really
interesting.
appreciate how you put that together. What we're looking for on the show is aha moments for people. And the positioning that you had about talking to the team when there's resistance, you and I encounter that all the time. Somebody's going to be resistant, even if we're trying to help them. I really like how you did that. When I'm building a sales team, though, this process, what's the process you take me through to put my sales process in place? How do I build one if I've got
Good point.
none right
That's a
now?
very good question. Every team needs a leader. So number one, you have to say to build the team, there's a center point, which is somebody who's going to teach and train the stuff we're talking about. So you have that system.
Right.
You've enrolled the team. They got their commitment to do what we're trying to do, and then you say, "I need you to trust me. Do I have your support on this, guys?"
Mm.
Yes, yes, leader. Yes, Dominic, we have your support. We have our support. Okay,
That's
good.
what everybody
Indiv
says to me. Yes, leader.
well, individually they do. That's nice. So what
No, no,
the
I was thinking
zombies
of
you
all
got
the
going up there?
what is it, the minions in the in that
Yes,
claw game? Yeah.
that's funny. That's funny.
No, no, that's just my ego taking
Well,
over.
anyway, the leader chooses a system. He asks each member of the team individually for their support because I want to do this for your family, for the team, and for the client.
Mm,
Do I have your support on this? And that's a simple question. They say yes. Okay, then now we have a leader with people who are willing to learn, right?
right.
So the leader is now the teacher or the trainer of the system. And once you've trained people, and here's the most important part,
Mm-hmm.
you graduate those people and test them to make sure they got it. Just like if you took a permit out to get roofing done, there would just be the permit and there'd be the inspection to make sure the
Mm-hmm.
roof was put on right. The biggest thing people miss about training is they don't do any graduation. They have meetings every week, or they train people new things to do, but they don't graduate people and test them to make sure they got it. Make sense? So you train people and you test people to make sure they got it. And
Mm-hmm.
then you do implementation, which is going live in the field at that point. Now we know what we're doing. We kind of run the play in a way. Make sense? So now what happens is what's called coaching. So now once I trained you, it's possible now to guide you back on track to coach you because coaching is impossible without training. Like otherwise, I'm training in the field. I'm training you on the fly rather than training you before by putting you in the
Mm.
field on this. Coaching is something I just correct you to get back on track. And because of that accountability, now can actually happen, because
Hmm.
accountability means we celebrate the fact that we trained, I got you back on track, and we won. And we can always just you can always throw our sticks up in the air if you're playing hockey, or throw the ball on the end zone if you're doing
Somehow
football, and you
celebrate.
spike if you want, spike the ball if you
Hey,
want to.
I was talking to
So
an HVAC company the other
uh
day, and this is something you and I would recognize from the sales culture. But behind him, there was a brass bell hanging, and I just couldn't wait to ask him. I said, "What's the, because asking is more powerful than telling." I
yeah,
said, "So what's the brass bell for?" And he looked back and he goes, "Oh, every time we sell a deal, we bring that brass bell." And
bing,
that's part of the culture. Yeah,
that's
that's the
accountability.
celebration. You get to
That's
tell everybody, "Hey, we sell."
yeah.
So it's
Well,
part of building a sales
celebration and
team.
accountability go together. That's the thing. But a lot of people think accountability means negative, like you're going to blame me. But
No,
most of the time, when you're winning, accountability is that, because when you're winning 90% of the time, losing 10%, but losing is just a lesson to get back on coaching
to get
again.
better.
Hey, let's go back to what our system teaches us to overcome that.
You
But that's
used
it. So that's
you used sports as an analogy there a second ago, and I want to bring that sports analogy back.
huh?
Could you imagine, pick your favorite team? Well, just for a second, what's your favorite sport? I don't need to know your team, your favorite sport.
Oh my God, I'm a football fan of my number one. Although
College or
I
NFL?
love all sports. I'm a Chicago Blackhawks fan.
Okay.
I'm also a Chicago Bears. I live in Los Angeles, but I moved here in 2005 from the northern suburbs of Chicago. So
Okay.
I'm a suffering Chicago Bears fan. I'm a White Sox fan, and so I would say Chicago Bears are number one for me.
Sure.
We're about to be good, so that's what I'm really excited
Let's
about.
let's we're
Uh,
about to be good. That's
we're
we
about
all
to be
say
good.
that about our team. But just for a moment, imagine that you sit down and you're about to watch the Bears play. And you're watching them come on the field, and the announcer says, well, I don't know what's going on down there, Jim, but the coaching staff are not taking the field. And then the on-field announcer says, I don't know what's going on either. I heard there were no practices this week at all.
Wow.
What would you think about the Bears' chances to win that game today? What would you think?
Not good. Not good at all. Not good at all.
So how come we send our own team into the field without training and support on a weekly basis? Why do we think that's okay? Sports is just an analogy for life.
It
And
is. It
the
really is.
better, the more we practice, the better we get. We see that repetition again and again. Those of you who are strong in your faith, you have a chance to practice your faith at certain periods of time. I'm not going to talk about which faith. Could you imagine not practicing it? Right? Those of you
That's a
who are
good
on a
point.
weight loss journey, imagine going off the program or forgetting about
That's a
it.
good
It's
point
the
there.
same discipline, right?
It is. And there's different. That called the history of service or sales management, service management.
Mm,
One is unattended, as you mentioned. Just here. Okay, guys, you joined the company. Just go and sell. That's here's the stuff. Here's your opportunities. Go hit it. And that's it. That's the old days, right?
abdication.
Then
Yeah.
there was like, you know what? We're gonna do that, but I'm gonna coach you later on next day and see what happens. Then there's a way we do it where it's call by call, where it's like instead of just doing all your calls, here's one opportunity, and then you complete the opportunity, and we're going to debrief you. That would
Mm,
be a little bit more attended to. Now, call by call, I call 6.0, which is not just debriefing after each opportunity, but using AI. AI can listen to the conversation between the customer and you can actually
mm,
listen too. The coach is listening to the conversation. That's what we teach now, called call by call management,
mm,
where the leader of the company not just sends the guys out there, but he also monitors each guy when they're in front of the customer to see if they're following the system in real time,
wow.
and then just kind of coaches them while they're watching the game, like you mentioned. So that's a really good analogy. If you're a football coach and you're or a hockey coach or a baseball coach manager and you're not watching the game, how could you possibly tell people how to get better if you haven't seen what their
How they
shortcomings
play.
are? Make
Yeah.
sense? So the new method, which we teach here at Service MVP, one of the only companies that teach this, is called call by call profit X, which is to have AI monitoring with an earbud so you can hear the customer and the technician. In
Mm,
real time, transcription comes on the screen while you're watching, able to watch the conversation. And when you see things going wrong, you can text your guy or call him and say, "Hey, John, don't forget this way. I just thought I'd call time out here right now." And they step in and help while before the call's over, and they
wow.
fix it before the call. That's the modern way. The future of management for sales will be in service too. And by the way, for installs, imagine this. Imagine you have video inspections. If you're doing a deck, hey, let's see how the posts were set. Hey,
Right.
let's see how the under. Let's see the under. Show me the video of the under layment of that
Yeah.
the support system and the joists and things like that. Hey,
Interesting.
now show me how you attach the screws and show me the rest. So now you're phasing this project in so the manager can see the quality of the project that was as it was being built. That's the way the future of management is, which is that we're not going to assume that the guy got it done right. We're going to make sure that before you eliminate the possibility of failure before
Right.
the technician fails.
And
And the way that a technician feels cared for, supported, and respected because somebody is bothering to watch and monitor what they're doing to
mm,
help them through it. Make sense?
yeah, it's interesting because my initial reaction to having somebody looking over my shoulder while I'm doing that, like AI, is resistance. And then I have to remember at some point we made our own soap, we made our own bread, and the thought of having somebody at the store make our bread or make our soap would have been like you would have laughed about it walking down the street. Who doesn't? Who's going to buy soap? We all make our own soap. We all make our own bread. And here we are a generation later, and you make bread and it's a big deal. Usually you buy the bread. And who still
Well,
makes their own soap? There may be three people listening that do that.
if you start thinking about how much it would cost to buy all the stuff it would be needed to make soap,
Yeah.
it would take you 15 years to pay back your. I mean, your soap better be pretty darn good.
Well, there's a lot of hunters that listen
Because,
to this show. So there's a few people that are like, well, actually, I render my own. But
okay, I get
yeah,
it, but
yeah,
still,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
gonna take.
No,
If you said I got to
that's
go out and buy all the
one in
stuff to
that's
do it
one in a
with,
thousand, one in 100,000.
I get it, but there'd
Um,
be some people be like, if you had to buy all the stuff to build your own deck and stuff like that, you'd be buying so much tools you're gonna
oh my
throw
gosh,
away,
yeah, it doesn't make
never use
sense.
it. So bottom line is this. Yeah, it can be micromanaging is something that you can look at that way if it's not done in a caring, respectful, and supportive way. So the way to do call by call management is not by telling people what to do. It's just asking them about the training. Remember the training? I just say, Joe, I see the way you diagnose the system. Uh, remember how we trained you about like for heating and air conditioning about looking at the duct system too?
Mm.
There's nothing on there about the duct system I noticed. Could you I'm just reminding you, oh yeah, I forgot about that. So it's the kind of reminder system in real time about what I know I need to do, but I just instead of forgetting, you're kind of capturing that before you forget. And the cool part is that what creates is technician or people in the field confidence that my team is behind me on this. Like I'm not, imagine this. The loneliest thing in the world, Dominic, is taking the company's prices, the price book, putting all that stuff on an option sheet, and then I myself stand on an island for giving this to a client.
Yeah,
No.
you're fighting dragons all day.
Now you got the company's options, and me and my leader
Right.
are presenting this to the client. So I have support from my team and I feel supported. I don't feel like when the customer asks me, why does it cost so much money? I can say, well, Joe, it's an investment in your family. That's why it costs so much. And I do have my leader here. He can explain how the business works. If you want to see how much money goes into the overhead. But the reason why we do this is for you, and that's why. But they feel
Well,
supported and
yeah.
cared for. And every single person who does this the right way, the people in the field, the end user feels like, I don't know how I did it without this. I don't even know how I was even operating without this. Makes sense. So,
So we're professionalizing.
call by call management can get a bad name, but it only gets bad names when people are using it. It's like using a tool. If I gave you a bicycle, like the kind that you would need to win the Tour de France, you'd
Yeah,
have a certain kind of, but if I gave you a tricycle to use, you're not going to win, right? So if you
you're gonna
use the
look
right,
silly. Yeah,
the tool is the tool, but you got to make sure you're using the right tool for the right job on that part.
yeah.
Good
Joe,
point.
this has been fantastic. You just gave me an idea that maybe one day we'll have you back just to talk about objection handling in front of the
Oh my goodness,
client.
that was my that's my
That's where you and I,
superpower.
right? I could tell. I heard your line of logic sort of light up and I saw your face change. But in the meantime, until then, somebody listening might want to reach out to you and find Joe Crisara in this wild, wild world we live in. Where do we find you? How do we find out more?
Well, the world's never been smaller, Dominic, thank goodness. And so you can find
Yeah.
me at servicemvp.com, which is where you go to our website and you can text me there if you want to. We have a little text bot in the lower right hand corner. Or if you want to go on Amazon, we do have our new book titled What Should We Do? How to win clients, double profits, and grow your home service sales business. It's on Amazon. You can get the Audible It's a really good investment, and it's a really great tool to train your team, right? So for a very small cost, the investment of an Audible book or an Amazon Kindle or
Mm.
just a paperback, you can use that as a training guideline and that system we talked about, that system of operation. You would have it for under less than you would buy a box of
No,
donuts
it's
for. You look at that, you look at all that stuff. So that's how
hey,
you get
listen, if
find me
somebody
on
can't
Amazon.
invest in
Look it up
that,
on Amazon.
if somebody
Yeah,
can't
it's
invest that much for a book, how much can, they're
right.
really not committed. Yeah.
460 pages, and it's got everything. I didn't water it down. It's everything that's in there, the things we talked about here and more, because I really feel like I wanted to write a manifesto in a way, because
Mm.
I'm getting up there, and I got to make sure I document everything I did,
Leave a
and that book
legacy.
is a testament. It took 3.5 years to get that done, so definitely we're very proud of that,
Wow.
and I would hope. And by the way, Service MVP, you'll get the free lessons. There's no money there. You call us, you go there, you get a free lessons. We'll give you the pure motive service basics. That's on me for free. At servicemvp.com. So join us there. And I think the only,
Fantastic.
the only only regret you'll have is not doing it all or doing it too late. That's what I always say. Make
Yeah.
sense?
Well, listen, the training is out there now. There's never been a better time, Joe, to learn. Experts like you are available as a podcast so people can get that inspiration and direction. And the only, you and I provide the how, the listener has to provide the when,
Absolutely. It's like
right?
we provide the information, but the customer provides the perspiration and the transformation they get from that too. They get
Oh, nice.
all that stuff there. You can use that one time. You can steal that one
Yeah.
a little bit
No,
if you
I
want
think
to.
people are rolling their eyes. They're like, these guys are going to go forever trading cool sayings. Joe, thank you very much for being on the show. I think we'll have you back in the future. I really appreciate your time. I really do. And I know we only scratched the surface with you.
Dominic, thank you so much. And thanks for the service you provide and the effort that you make for all the people, the blue collar people in this world.
Ah,
I listen to you all the time, and I am a testament to say that if you're not listening to this podcast, you're missing something big. So thank you for having me. I really appreciate that.
thanks, Joe. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye bye. Well, well, well. What did you learn from Joe? Thanks, Joe, for being on the show, by the way. Clearly very skilled in what he does. He's more from the HVAC side, he said, but then we started talking about all sorts of different trades. So I can tell he's got the experience and the background to have these sales conversations, to have the conversations with your team to get buy-in. Hopefully you picked up a couple of juicy nuggets there. The things that'll move your company forward a little bit at a time. Those kinds of changes is what you want. Hey, I want to read an email that came in. Now, listen, on this show, we specifically talk to contractors in the $1 to $2 million range. Maybe you got 8, 10, 12 employees or more. But we do talk to smaller contractors as well. And this is a contractor who sent me an email from the UK, from England, like London, England. I'm not going to do it with his accent because I'll probably turn Australian halfway through and then some other country after that. So I won't do the accent. And obviously his name's going to be changed. But he's interested in doing the Construction Millionaire Boot Camp, which is what we have for contractors who are really in the formative. They're trying to get their fundamentals down. We obviously help people in that range too. So we try not to leave anybody hanging. So we've got stuff for what you'd call smaller contractors, and we have lots of stuff for what the bigger $1 million and multi-million-dollar and tens of $1 million contractors. We're trained across those spectrums, right? So here's an email that came in from this company. A couple of things are going to be changed for confidentiality. I mean, you already know he's from the UK, but I'm not going to use his real name or his real company name. But I'm reading his email almost word for word. Hi, Dom. I will start with a quick apology. My name is Ted. We're going to say his name is Ted. This is one of the many items I need to get on top of. I tried setting up my email to sign off with my name, company name, address, etc., but only sometimes it works. So I'm going to put it down at the bottom myself. All right. A bit about me. I've been making furniture and doing contracting for 25 years. So I have a very understanding wife and no real furniture of my own. Messing around to one side, I've worked my whole life making furniture, working some of the biggest names in the UK, also pulling me overseas. Due to my reputation in the industry of very high-end furniture, getting a job has never been an issue, but I was stuck at the cycle of a workshop foreman and maker. 3 years ago, I started my own business. Each year has been profitable, but it has all come from my reputation or local word of mouth. So let me stop there for a second. Can you guys see the pattern that's going on here? Somebody who's very skilled in their trade and is grown by word of mouth, right? He's recognized all across the land. He's getting pulled overseas. So he's winning on his reputation. He's winning on word of mouth. He's still profitable, but he's smaller than he wants to be. So let's get back to what he says here. I've been able to buy all machinery, if only limited, and pay for it outright. But I work 70 hours a week. I want more time with my family. I don't want a bigger boat or a better car to tow with, but a dinner out now and then and ice cream for the kids without not worrying about it. So clearly he listens to the show, because that's a comment that I make all the time about how many of us just want to tow a bigger boat to a nicer lake with a newer truck, right? He goes on to say, the podcast with Lee Miller is the one I have implanted straight away. Like I stated earlier, I am going back to the podcast to pick up on the points that I feel I can action on now. This has been a bit of a rant on my part about my abilities, with I hold no apologies about, as I trained and worked hard. But the struggle, I'm sure you hear all too often. This is a big thank you. There has been so many items in the podcast that have slapped me across the face and woke me to the fact that I love the business and that you know what you're doing. I know how to make furniture. I know how to do construction, but I don't know how to build a team. I don't know how to grow, and I have no idea how to run a business. Ted is being very honest and forthright here. Continuing on. Forward, I'm going back through the podcast from the start and seeing where I can implement appropriate actions and do so. Then when I see where I stand, I'll make a decision on the next stage of growth. Now, as I mentioned, he's talking to us about boot camp. I would love to chat and find out more about yourself and drive in life if it ever wavers. But I think this future down the line is about growth. I always think about growth. Keep up the good work with the podcast. Look forward to the next one. 8 hours a day on the tools. I get through a lot of your podcasts. Thank you again. And his name is Ted, and he's in the UK. So I read that almost word for word. It probably reads better than I read it out loud, but I want you to get the sense of you're not alone. If any of that, struck a chord with you, if any of that sounded like you, well, then you might be British. but you see, when I say business is the same all across the world, we're in the business of business on this show. That's why I bring you guests like Joe, and then we'll have somebody else from a completely different angle on the industry. And it's to get your mind open to the possibilities, to get us out of that technician mode and into business owner mode. That's what the show is all about. So I really love hearing from you guys. Never be shy to send me a message. Thank you so much. I want to move on now to the portion of the show where I simplify and solve a common problem. And I thought about this, and I thought, since we're talking about sales and sales process and the importance of sales, one of the more popular downloads that I offer around sales is the tire kickers document. I don't know if you've ever gotten the tire kickers. I'm going to open it up here on my other screen. For those of you watching this on YouTube, you'll see I'm looking somewhere else right now. There's 5 questions that kick out tire kickers. And the reason that this is important, guys, is because those tire kickers are the people that waste your time. They're never going to buy. They can't afford your services. They're not right for you, because this has to be more about you than it is them. Do they qualify to be your client? Remember that as a contractor, let's speak specifically about renovators, just as an example. If you're a renovator, remodeler, there's going to be a point in time when you have more invested in that remodel than the homeowner does. Now, we don't want it to be too much, because it's going to flip. They're going to have to start paying. But think about that for a second. There's going to be many points in time when you have more invested in the job than they do. More invested in the job than they do. And so it's time to, when we talk about getting to the next level, we have to change that mindset. I have to make sure that the people I choose to work with qualify to work with me. We're not just taking anybody who floats across our doorstep. That, of course, is the big problem if your marketing is based on word of mouth and referrals. If that's the case, give me a call. We'll talk it through. First phone call with me is only a half an hour, but we'll get through a lot of stuff in that half hour. And, obviously on the podcast, I do more generalized topics. In 30 minutes with me, we'll be talking about you, your business, your way, your clients, your challenges, and you'll come out of that with some learnings. Anyways, this download's called Tire Kickers. Just shoot me a text message and get Tire Kickers. You guys know the cell phone number to text me at 315-903-7853. But we talk about what are tire kickers. You guys may have heard me talk about this before. There's a certain family out there. I don't know if you've ever got a call from this family. They're called the How much is it family. No matter what you say, when you're on the phone with them first, their first question to you is, how much is it? How much is it? That is the How much is it family. If you're starting to hear that on the phone, you've probably got a tire kicker. It might not be worth your time if they just want to find out about the price right away. So these 5 questions help you qualify the person. That's the stage we're talking about here. We only want to deal with qualified buyers. And we want to make sure that all the decision makers are there so that everybody who needs to be in on this decision has a chance to understand the process. What happens if we don't have the decision makers there? Well, you guys have run across this before. If we don't have all the decision makers there when we make our proposal or do the home tour or the commercial tour, if we don't have the decision maker there, we're always going to run across, let me think about it. Hey, this looks great. Let me show my wife or let me tell my husband. Or they're going to say something, this is the worst situation. Thank you for this beautiful proposal. I'm going to give it to the landlord. I've had that one many times myself because I'm a dummy and I didn't confirm that I was dealing with the decision maker. I was dealing with a tenant. Any of those things are a waste of your time. Let me talk about that time for a second. That time was when your wife was supposed to take the kids to choir or maybe wanted to join a prayer group, or you were supposed to just go throw the ball with your son, or you were going to take your daughter to the library or help her with her homework. But no, you said, family, I love you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to trade this family time to go see the How much is it family on the other side of town, only to get there and realize they're the wrong prospect for us. And guys, this doesn't matter if your business is $20 million a year or $200,000 a year. This happens to all of us. And we go throwing our time around like it's not worth anything. I'm happy to come out and give you an estimate as long as you're the right kind of customer. We're not even talking about doing paid estimates and quotes right now. We're just talking about getting them done. Anyways, this document helps you remove that bottleneck, that hurdle from your business. And that's what I want to help you do. Anyways, that's the tire kicker document. I think it dovetails real nice with Joe's topic today. If you want this document, just send me a text. You guys know how to do that. It's my cell number, 315-903-7853. All right. Thank you very much for listening. I appreciate you taking the time, investing the time to learn here with me. And again, this podcast is just a thin excuse. It's just thin soup until the day that you and I can have a cup of coffee or a glass of wine across a table from each other and talk like real humans. Until then, have a great day. And we'll see you on the next episode.